Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends, enemies and comrades, I hope you're doing well wherever you are. This Sunday night, Sunday evening, Sunday morning, Monday morning, wherever you are. I know it's late in some parts of the world, but karibuni sana for another quick discussion about what's going on in Kenya, Africa as a whole, and news that affects us all. Okay? If you're new here, let me just start with the formalities. My name is Kenyan Revolutionary. I talk about Kenyan politics and world politics as it relates to Kenya. So if you are interested in that kind of content, this is a place where you go ahead and subscribe, like, share, comment, do all the good stuff. Today, the topic is military coup in Benin. Do we need one in Kenya? Listen, in my previous videos, I came to a conclusion and I told you guys that a people's popular revolution in Kenya, and most importantly, majority of the popular revolution that's happened in Kenya are usually steered by the West, financed, steered, orchestrated, and led by the West. So the outcome usually comes in as the lead out of the popular revolution usually results into another colonial puppet. Now, if that's the case, what other option are we left with? We are left with an armed struggle as a way of toppling the government in Kenya. For the record, I'm not advocating for toppling of this government of Kenya. This is for entertainment purpose only. So do not come for you, but do not come for me. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, let's get started. Like I said, if this is your first time here and you like Kenyan politics and world politics as it relates to Kenya, and Eastern African politics and world politics in general, go ahead and subscribe. If you're already subscribed, you know the first order of business. Hit that like button. So let's get to it. Okay? Now, majority of you probably have heard what's happening in Benin. There's a bunch of soldiers who have attempted or are in the process of, taking over the government, overthrowing the government of the place, of the day, led by Colonel Pascal, a gentleman called Pascal Tigri. They decided, hey, listen, enough of the corruption, enough of these Western puppets, enough of all these scandals that's happening around. The people are not being taken care of. So him along with a band of his fellow soldiers decided that, hey, listen, we are not standing for this. We are taking out the president. Now, the president, I forgot his name, the president of Benin, and the minister of one of the ministers of his regime came out and said and denied that, hey, this incident is just a few soldiers were behind this incident. The coup has been thwarted. Do not worry, everything is under control. But the Colonel Tigri, Pascal Tigri, came out and rebutted that and say, no. We have taken the president out. It's ongoing. This guy got to go. And a few hours ago, the French President Macron basically even spoke on this on Twitter. He tweeted and told Tinubu, hey, Tinubu, you are the Jirani over there. You're the chaperone around that corner of the world, okay? Section of Africa. And along with ECOWAS. Brother Benson, I see you. How are you doing? Nice seeing you, brother. So nice seeing you, brother. So he told Tinubu, basically, hey, Tinubu, get the ECOWAS folks, get things straightened out. So as we speak right now, there's reports that the Nigerian troops, along with ECOWAS, and French troops are actually bombing Benin. Okay? Benin is under military attack. They are helping the government that was being overthrown to maintain control. But we don't know who is in control right now because the fighting is still ongoing as we speak. Both sides claiming that they are in control of the government, But of course, the rebel forces, the people, the revolutionary, the coup d'etat, Pascal Tigri, the head of this armed forces that took over, conducting this coup d'etat, has appealed to the people of Benin to come out and support them. And the people have started flooding the streets in support of a coup d'etat because, as many African countries, their leaders are usually not popular. They rig themselves back to power, or they rig themselves to power. This is a common theme you see everywhere in Africa. So now, this seems to be a trend. We saw different Western countries, Western African nations. Some of them were French orchestrated military coup d'etat, like the one in Gabon, that were quickly, excuse me, were quickly exposed as basically the French supporting the military to overthrow the sitting president, but this is an agreement that's already made. So, but this one is interesting because the Sahel nations are actually looking forward to this. I don't know if they're going to step in to help Benin, because it seems like West Africa having had enough of the colonial control by the French, and they're trying to disentangle themselves from the colonial powers. Okay, now will that revolutionary military coup d'etat wave come to East Africa? I told you on my previous video that, listen, a revolution in Kenya is next to impossible. I'm not saying it cannot be done. I know a lot of you people can point the finger and tell us about, point to the Gen Z movement last year in June 25th, 2024, and say that, listen, we were inches away from taking out Ruto if it wasn't for Raila Odinga and the Boniface Mwangis and Hanefa, infiltrating the movement and misleading the people. We would have successfully taken out Ruto, okay? And I argued that with the benefit of hindsight, the Gen Z movement was a movement that was financed, controlled, orchestrated by the political class. The members, a faction of the political class who wanted to force Ruto to play ball into their demands. That's why once that Gen Z movement, did what they did and scared Ruto into conceding to the demands of that faction of the political class, the Gen Z movement was thwarted. In fact, it was the very faction that were financing the Gen Z movement who actually now reduced it into a tribal movement. Because remember, after the ODM folks, or the Azimio, let me just say ODM because Azimio was already split at that time. Once the ODM guys went to the broad-based government, now the Gen Z movement that was going to the streets to occupy State House was now being labeled as a bunch of Kikuyu, Mount Kenya youth who are not happy with the president. You see how they really turned it around? And then they started, sending the goons, the Sakaja goons, the Raila goons, whatever the case is, working hand in hand with the police to thwart the Gen Z movement, which now they had labeled it as a Mount Kenya uprising. Okay, so that's why I tell you, a popular revolution in Kenya is next to impossible. And if it does happen, it will be something that is driven by this very political class with the help of the Western powers to install another colonial puppet. Okay? It will not be a revolutionary leader. That's my assessment of things. You are free to disagree. I know some of you might see it differently, but I am very convinced. I am absolutely convinced that any popular revolutionary movement that happened in Kenya will only end up giving birth to another leader who is Western-backed, controlled puppet, just like Ruto. Okay, and this is basically what happened in 2002. Okay, even though we didn't have a revolution per se, but there was the general ethos, the general mood of the country, the zeitgeist of the times. People wanted a new beginning away from the Moi 24-year rule. So when we had Kibaki, nobody sat down to think, Kibaki had been government since 1970s when he was the finance minister or something under Moi, and I think did he serve in Kenyatta's regime? I don't know. But regardless, nobody thought about Kibaki being part of the elites, okay? We were just fed up with Moi, and we wanted something new, not thinking critically of who we were voting for. But we voted for him overwhelmingly, and he won, okay, with full support of everyone, the Raila Odingas, Martha Karuas, the whole NAC, everybody else, okay? And years later, he went right back to what Moi did. So let's not lose focus here. I want to emphasize this point. Could it be now, I think, in fact, with this military coup d'etat that's happening in Benin, it kind of opens my eye and makes me think about the death of General Ogola. General Ogola was loved among the military, fraternity, okay? This guy was respected and loved, was very disciplined. He was about his word, so forth, so forth. And very popular among his peers. Of course, there are people who didn't like him. Not everyone shall like you. That we know that, okay? But could it be that given the influence that General Ogola had within the military, A, B, given the fact that General Ogola was willing to meddle into a political process or political matter? What do I mean by that? Remember, General Ogola, it is said that he was sent in 2022, that is, okay? He was sent by Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga at Bomas. Aende akajaribu kuvuruga to see what is happening over there. I don't know exactly what his responsibility was supposed to be on that election day at Bomas, but General Ogola, it is said, was present at Bomas Center. He wasn't donning his army fatigues or his general outfit, military outfit. He was in civilian clothing, but he was still a member of the military. But he showed up at Bomas under the instruction of President Uhuru Kenyatta, who at that point was still the president, the head of state of Kenya. What was Ogola's role? What was he going to do at Bomas? Okay, even Ruto confirmed this by saying, when he gave that video, when he was giving the reason why he chose Ogola. Of course, there are people who are speculating and saying that Ruto's people, or Ruto affiliated, or Ruto supporters, or Ruto's government administration. Even Kalonzo said it today, I think, was quoted saying that people affiliated with this regime, Ruto's regime, might have been behind the assassination of Ogola, that his death was not an accident, it was basically an assassination. That is not out of the realms of possibility. Okay? Now, that's why I'm saying, with the advent of what's taking place in Benin, are there people within this political sphere who understand that a popular revolution will not be enough to remove the people in power, or the person in power, who is Ruto? I explained to this, and I will explain it one more time, because in Kenya, we do have a constitution, okay? And on paper, we are told that the president is only the head of the executive, and it's supposed to be an arm of government, independent from the legislative body and the judiciary. But in reality, we still live as if it is still 1964, 1965, okay? Where the president is basically the alpha and omega of the country. What he says goes. That's why Ruto still walks around and goes to, I don't know, Homa Bay and says, "Hi, nitawapatia milioni moja hapa mujenge bridge. Hii niwaekee stima hapa." And people clap. But that's not even his function, okay? That's something that the governor should worry about. You know, we hear about the influence of judicial decisions on a matter that matters that you see the state is greatly involved, okay? We hear about the phone calls that Ruto makes, okay? Mabri karibu sana, I see you. Nice seeing you. We hear about the bribes that the members of parliament receive from the executive while wanapewa the brown envelopes. We hear about that, okay? We hear about these influencers, community activists, political activists who wanaenda kwa DCI wakina Hanifa and they stay there for 3 hours. You don't know what they discuss. After that, unasikia wametoka hapo with brown envelopes and they're singing a different tune. We know and we understand that the presidency in Kenya, being a president and the head of state, gives you unbridled, unchecked powers. You can determine who is going to be the MCA in Machakos County. You can determine who is going to be the MP of Mbere. You can determine who is going to be the governor of Nairobi. You can determine who is going to be the governor of Homa Bay if you're the president of the Republic of Kenya. We know by now that the IBC, the governing body that is supposed to what? To oversee the process of elections, is already under Ruto's pockets, and he's using every instrument of power through Nuruddin Haji and others to influence them so that he can win elections. So every electoral seat that Ruto wants in Kenya, he will get it. In fact, I argue this, that 2027, Ruto is not worried about the actual elections in 2027. He is planning on how to deal with the aftermath of the elections. Once he has been declared the president as the winner of the 2027 elections, that is when he'll start worry about how to put off fire. When, let's say, Mount Kenya kianza kushika moto huko, tuseme huko Kiambu ianze kushika moto, tuseme Nairobi ianze kushika moto because people know that the rigging has taken place, okay? Ruto is now thinking of how he will deal with that. And he has planned it. That's why you see he has neutralized ODM. ODM is in full control of William Samoei Ruto through Wanga, Junet, and all those clowns, criminals who are heading ODM. Okay? The topic now, people are still arguing Gladys Wanga versus Raymond Omolo. I mean, what? Anyway, I will not cast. I'm now different. I'm not casting anymore. But anyway, what does Gladys Wanga and Raymond Omolo, how does that make a difference in everyday people's lives? You can argue that they are in Homa Bay, the people of Homa Bay might care about it, but I'm talking about the larger, in the larger picture, okay? How does that help Kenyans? If anything, I would even dare ask, how does that help the people of Homa Bay? Because the people of Homa Bay know about the corruption that's happening in Homa Bay and Wanga, okay? And so, but that's not where I'm going with it. Let's come back to the topic. What I'm trying to say is this. Now that we understand that Ruto, just like his predecessors, will not care, adhere to the Constitution. I'm a changed man. Yes, I am a changed man. Yes, age is catching up, okay? Now that he does not, just like his predecessors, He does not care about the constitution. Like, the constitution to him is a piece of paper that you only follow when it really suits you, and if it doesn't, you throw it away. I mean, Uhuru did this and never didn't even care. Never gave a rat's behind of whatever. Even you remember his fight with Maraga. Yeah. And Ruto was deputizing him, so he learned from that. Ruto learned from Moi. But regardless, every president since Jomo to now never cared about the rule of law. They're above the law. They do not care. Now, this one has shown us. I mean, you saw what happened in the US with our data being sold to the US, our data information, health data information. In the US, they have a law that was introduced by Hillary Clinton in the 90s, which was, what is it called? Private Health Information Act, I believe that's what it is, okay? Which was to ensure that the data, information about individuals' health was to be protected. And failure to do that, there are hefty fines that you should pay, okay? So they do not play about their Chief Nuggets, nice seeing you, Chief Nuggets. Nice seeing you. Oh my lord. Like the video. Oh, I'm so happy to see you. What do you say? I don't know what's going on with these what? With YouTube handles these days. Oh my friend. I'll tell you this, what's happening. It's called a serious attack. I know what my channel is going through. I know the people behind it. It's a process. It's a long process that I have to take, but we'll nab them down and we'll get them. Yeah. But anyway, I'll stop that. Let me not without but nice seeing you, Chief Niggas. I'm so happy. Tell us about my first health strategy. Just saying. Yes. So anyway, Mabri, I like that question that you're asking me. Mabri is asking me, tell us about the America First Health Strategy. Okay, I think you are referring to the the health thing deal with between Ruto and the US and Kenya. Okay, that's a good question. Actually, what's his name? Aden Duale yesterday had a X session with a couple of Kenyans discussing about that. Personally, I didn't listen to it. I didn't hear it because I know Aden Duale is full of it. I don't know what's in that deal. I don't know what it entails, but what is Kenya, based on what we were told and what was Marco Rubio, Little Marco, the Secretary of State, believe it or not, the former senator from Florida, I think. Anyway, based on that, Kenya will be sharing, listen to me, and this is what Ruto's administration was telling us, Kenya will be sharing its data information of our health with the US. They'll be sharing that information. Listen to this. And they're saying they're doing that by following the Kenyan law. The question is, which law are they following that gave them permission, or where did they get the consent from Kenyans to share our health data information with the United States of America? Somebody made a really good video, an Ethiopian lady, and I've had that before, about how they can harvest data from other countries. Now it will be Kenya, one of it, where they can weaponize diseases against the people of a specific geographical location. Okay, so you'll find out that there'll be an epidemic around an area, because remember, hata ile ugonjwa ambayo tulikuwa tunaambiwa tuchukue shindano, it was a weaponized disease. Okay, it was man-made, right? But I won't get there because YouTube is very iffy about that subject. But anyway, Brian anasema the deal was negotiated by Treasury instead of an MOH. and the MOU is yet to be presented to MOH. Absolutely. Okay. The Ruto administration is being very vague. It's not being transparent about what was actually agreed upon. The Kenyan people are in the dark about what this agreement is all about. And our representatives, our lawyers, people who are supposed to be advocating on our behalf, are staying mum and numb and dumb about this issue. So who is going to protect us? Where's Okiya Mtata when you need him? We need to see a case in the Supreme Court of Kenya, fighting this, because this is an absolute affront to the people of Kenya, against the people of Kenya. Okay, and keep in mind that Kim is telling me, and keep in mind that USCDC has gain of function labs here. Oh, by the way, not only the CDC. Remember the chemical labs that remember that Russian general that got killed for revealing that there were some labs that were in part of it. They're all over the world, but Kenya was part of it too. Remember that? I made a video of that last Christmas, I believe. Exactly almost 1 year ago. Last Christmas, I remember. So beer. Sorry, nakunywa kahawa. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's a lot happening that we Kenyans are not being told what's going on. Okay. Here is new. The US will have direct access to our health data. Part of the deal. Absolutely. That is part of the deal. And that's why I'm asking this question. Who gave Ruto's administration consent, our consent as Kenyans, to agree to share our health data with the US government? Who gave him that consent? Nani alimpatia consent? Hey. And no one is asking this. Hakuna mtu anauliza. Watu wamenyamaza. Oh, yeah. Ruto is telling us. Okay. Kim anasema, yes, the labs that were Ukraine were moved here. The Russian general was deleted, revealed. Yes. Kumbe, you remember. Absolutely. He was deleted. Yeah. Alitoa yote. Wakamaliza. And some of them are in Kenya here. I can name names of generals and the madaktari ambao are behind that. It was a very new document. I made a video about it. Go check it on my video. I remember I made it last Christmas. So anyway, this is what I'm saying. I see some people are reacting and I say what kuna watu wanareact wanasema ati Ruto agreeing to this deal guarantees him 2007 victory because Trump will be supporting him since he's a sellout. Okay. Yeah. But what happens is this too. You have to remember this. If there's overwhelming opposition, or the people of Kenya are overwhelmingly against Ruto, what will happen is the West can engineer a people's revolution to remove Ruto and replace him with another Ruto. I'm not talking about Ruto's from Ruto's lineage. I'm talking about political lineage. Watoe Ruto eke to somebody similar to Ruto. A perfect match will be Matiang'i. Matiang'i fits the bill. Works for the, is it UN or something? Walmart, sorry. He will be perfect replacement for Ruto. Another sellout who does not mind selling the country and will. I mean, he already looks like Idi Amin. So anyway, so you saw that pact, okay? And it worked perfectly for the US. They signed the pact, by the way, immediately after the pact between Congo and Rwanda was signed. Once Tshisekedi went back to went back to Congo, and Kagame went back to Rwanda, a fight broke out. is it today or yesterday? Between the M23 rebels, and the Congolese army. So this deal does not even mean much, okay? Mambo inaendelea vile inaendeleanga. So, but anyway, what I wanted to mention about this is I'm curious as to why Uhuru Kenyatta was also present in the signing of, not the signing of this MOU, but the signing of this peace deal between Rwanda and Congo. Of course, there are people who are saying that Uhuru was there because he has been working behind the scenes to bring this together. Listen to Kagame, what he said about Uhuru Kenyatta a few months ago. It was nothing complimentary of Uhuru Kenyatta. In fact, he basically said Uhuru was corrupt, okay? Go check it out. I think I have it on my X page. Go check out my page. Follow me on my X page. My name is Kenyatta Revolutionary. Thank you so much. Follow me. But anyway, so that's number one. That's these nations that showed up in this thing. Then number two, I mentioned the conspicuously obviously missing piece in this whole Eastern African region. Tanzania was missing. Tanzania. Larry Mado is having a ball, a field day with the Tanzanian government about the the so-called alleged mass killings, or whatever the case, protesters being killed and political opposition being jailed. I've already preached about that. I don't have to preach it again, but I'll mention it so you can get the context of why I think this whole ICC, the US also against Suluhu, is simply because last June, Suluhu decided that she banned the use of the US dollar in Tanzania. You cannot trade in US dollars. In fact, they do not even want that money. You cannot use it in Tanzania. Whether you're a minister or you're a maskini hohehahe, you cannot use US dollars. So this did not sit well with the US government. If you know the history of countries that have dumped the US dollar, they always get attacked. Iran is one of them. When they joined BRICS, they dropped the US dollar. Wakaanza vita na Israel, and the US was supporting them. Same thing with Saddam Hussein when he said, "Hey, listen, I'm going to sell my my oil in euros." When Gaddafi said, "I'm not going to sell my oil in US dollars, I'm going to use it, and we are going to start this black dollar where we're going to have a gold backed currency," walimchuja, okay? Suluhu dumping the dollar. That's why if you listen to Suluhu's last video, public address, you remember the infamous quote by her where she was like, "Who do they think they are to command us, tell us, dictate to us how we should conduct our business?" Surprise, surprise, now you hear the US saying they are going to reevaluate their relationship, their partnership with Tanzania. Oh, over what? Oh, over the killings that has been happening, killings in quote, that has been happening in Tanzania. Okay? Remember, Suluhu did not want the ICC to go up there to check whatever the body. She knows the game. She knows Larry Mado working for CNN. We all know CNN is fake news. They're a propaganda machine just like BBC, you know. So everyone is painting Suluhu as Idi Amin. The Tanzania government, guess what they did? They exposed these activists who are being paid by Western-backed NGOs, okay? Giving political activists who are mobilizing this youth to go to the streets. I told you, African countries, you cannot replace the leaders of African countries through a people's revolution. If it does succeed, it is going to be a case of one dictator being substituted with another colonial puppet who will in turn become a dictator. Okay? Okay? The only way to have a true revolutionary movement, in my opinion, as I came to realize, is through a military coup d'etat or an armed struggle. Even the United States, if they read at their revolution, it was not by people going to maandamano wakisema 1 term, 2 term, 3 term, 4 term. They picked up guns to fight the red coats, the British. Okay, I'm not advocating for that. Like I say, this is for entertainment purpose only, so please don't come for me. I'm just giving you what I think will work. Benin is the perfect example that is happening right about now. Not right now, but right now. Benin is on flames. Armed struggle. They are about to take out that president who is a colonial puppet. That's how you take dictator. Because remember, that president of Benin, I forgot his name, Pa something, I forget his name. He extended his term limit to 7 years. Cameroon is said to wameanza, there's subsection of the English-speaking part of Cameroon, because Cameroon, there's a French, Franco-Cameroon part and the Anglo-Cameroon part of the country. And it is saying the English-speaking part of Cameroonians, they have started arming themselves, trying to disassociate, annex themselves from the government of Biya, that octogenarian that has been in power for 40 years. So you see, there's a trend. The only way to take a dictatorship down in an African country is through a military coup d'etat or an armed struggle. You have to use force. Popular revolution does not work. I'm sorry to say. Even Fidel Castro did it. Actually, Fidel Castro tried both ways. Because remember, Fidel Castro, when he was a student, he tried to, he, along with his 1,000 buddies, tried to go to State House, their version of State House, walijaribu kuinvade State House yao by rushing it, okay? And they failed. And actually, Fidel Castro was arrested. Alafu sasa vile alitolewa, he ran off, akaenda kashikana na Che Guevara huko Bisturi. And that's when they started training for an armed struggle. And he came back and told them, and when by the time he came back, Batista read the writing on the wall, and the rest is history. So that's why I'm saying in Africa. Now, we are in West Africa. That is what is happening in Benin. And that's why I brought up the point about General Ogola. Why General Ogola was probably finished. What will happen in 2027? As I've mentioned before, I know a lot of us are still, let me say something that relates to Kenya, because I might be waffling around you and you're wondering, what the hell are you talking about? What I'm trying to say is this. If we truly want to change Kenya from the real bottom up, and I'm not talking about an economic whatever body, okay? This is not UDA commercial, okay? So please do not even think about that, okay? Stop thinking again. If we truly want to revolutionize Kenya and truly achieve true independence, economically, politically, militarily, and everything, okay? We have to address where the true power lies. Where does the true power lies? The power of the state lies. And the power of the state in Kenya lies at the executive branch. Yeah, that's why every presidential election is always a matter of life and death. Okay, Wakina Raila knew this, but Raila used that as a business model. And then I enjoy, then I like a handshake. Rest in peace to Raila Odinga, wherever you are. I hope you made it to heaven, or whatever. The real power, state power, lies with the executive branch. The judiciary is nothing. Those are people who they're under the New York. So with that said, here's why I want to thank you, Kim. So this is where I want to jog your mind. I know a lot of people concentrate on this. Oh, Gladys Wanga, ODM, Gachagua, Sifuna, Babu Owino. Sijui Babu Owino is going to meet Ruto. Sijui Kalonzo is... That is not going to change anything. It's not going to move a needle. That's not where the power lies. Wachana wakina Gachagua, they are playing their part. I told you about Gachagua. Gachagua is working with Ruto. All of them, not Gachagua only, all of them. But anyway, that's not where I want to tell you. This is where I want the concentration to be. Kenyans should concentrate where the power lies. The power, the wheels of power, the steering, whoever is steering this country, the state of Kenya, is being steered by William Samoei Ruto and his criminal gang. Not only him, but it extends to the political opposition, the so-called politician. We already know the legislative body is under Ruto. We already know the judiciary is under Ruto. We know the IBC is under Ruto. Okay? But where the trick is they're trying so hard to make us believe that we have an opposition that shall present a different political candidate with fresh new ideas to challenge Ruto in 2027. And they're doing this by what? Tribalizing, so to speak. Okay? Using tribe, because umejua hiyo ndio itakushika. Kama wewe ni Mjaluo unasema Mjaluo. Sisi Wajaluo tutafanya hivi. Kama wewe ni Kikuyu unasema Okul, tutafanya hivi. Kama wewe ni Mkamba unasema mtu wetu. Kama wewe ni Mluo unasema abantu bosi. So it is used as an identifier to woo you and open the wounds that were caused during colonial times and extended through the past regimes. Hii siasa ya ukabila. But the truth is, they want to confuse the masses to waste a lot of time, effort, energy, fighting about things that will not change their lives. Fighting an enemy that will not... Babu Owino becoming a governor of Nairobi is not going to change anybody's life. Gladys Wanga winning re-election or losing her seat as the Homa Bay governor will not change Kenya's lives. Kalonzo Musyoka Matiang'i running for president, whether he wins or loses, will not change Kenyans' lives. We know the history of these people. Gachagua telling us those deep secrets that Ruto is a tribalist, Ruto alichapa coffee, Ruto will not. You have to replace the person at the top with somebody who has enough guts, enough energy, enough Arsenal. And I'm not talking about Arsenal who lost to Aston Villa yesterday. I'm talking about Arsenal. Kama ni ngumi ni ngumi. This is for entertainment purpose only, so do not come for me. I'm just saying that because that's the African way. That's the only way it can work. Atoe Ruto, na akishatoa Ruto tusafishe nyumba. Wakina Gachagua waende jela. Wakina Kalonzo waende jela. Wakina Murkomen waende jela. Wakina Omanwa waende jela. Wakina Karua wanyongwe. It has to be like that. Somebody like that. But this person who has to do that, they have to remove Ruto, who is sitting at the top, who is staring and realizing or implementing these colonial policies, selling our health data to foreign lands without our consent. And he doesn't care because he will be receiving 1.6 billion in the next 25 years. Is it? Is it 25 years or 5 years? Yeah. In fact, let me leave this comment and because it touches to what I want to say. Kenya is worse than most African countries because of how deeply invested Wazungu are in our country to maintain the status quo. Look at how many of their corporations have their headquarters. Absolutely. We have sold out so much. Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State of the US, you know what he said? He said, do you know Kenya is the first country in Africa, if not the world? Go listen to his speech yesterday when they were when Marco Rubio was shaking hands with Ruto. He said, Kenya is the first country, kutakuwa zingine zinakuja, 50 more African countries. Kenya is the first that have sold out totally. Na amesema Kenya will be used as the example to show these other African countries how to sell out their healthcare data. Yani mnauza sovereignty yenu. We are just, listen to me. When I was making that video, it is so hard for us to have a popular revolution, an organic grassroots popular revolution, because everyone is not everyone. All right, let me fix that. Majority of people are sellouts. Vijana have been programmed to believe that true success in life is through material things, gaining material things. They forget the collective prosperity of the society or of the country. As long as mini party can, as long as mini a billionaire, I can care less. I'm willing to sell the nation mini party 1.6 watanipatia. But that's the attitude. Boniface Mwangi and Hanefa, Martha Karua. They're selling our country. Wanajifanya ati hao ndio uliwaona wakienda Tanzania hapo wanapiga Mama Suluhu. Mama Suluhu is standing firm for her country. Anasema we need to be independent. Wakina Martha Karua na wakina nani Boniface Mwangi wanaenda huko kumharibia jina. Waanze mizozo huko makelele. That is the truth. Hata mkimwita Mama sijui Idi Amin, I'm telling you, and it will take time for you to see the truth. Idi Amin was a good leader. I dare say. Go look at Idi Amin. Is this a propaganda? I'm not saying Idi Amin was innocent. I'm not saying that. But go dig ndani. Idi Amin alikuwa anataka independence of Ugandan people. Hey, watch this all make there. My question is, that never gets answered is, can we really expect true change before we get out from under the global white power structure? They are the hidden hand behind terrible politics. Absolutely. Ndio maana nasema hivi. That's why I'm saying this. That's why I'm saying this. That's why I point at the Sahel nations. Look at the Sahel nations. How did they get rid of themselves from the colonial powers? The French, to be exact. Power had to be taken. What is the meaning of coup d'etat or coup? It is a quick usurpation, takeover of power. Quick, sudden, abrupt. Angalia dictionary yako. Abrupt. Traore aliingia hapa akasema kwisha. from now on, mimi ndio mkubwa hapa, and we are going to do things according to how the Burkinabes should be conducting and be the beneficiary of the natural resources we have as Africa. And he understood that militarily he could not go toe-to-toe against France and US. Victoria Nunen alikuwa huko anajaribu kuleta ninyo masoldier. So what did he do? Aliambia Urusi, akaambia Putin, sikia bwana, tufanye biashara, nitakuuzia uranium hapa, lakini sitakupatia ile bei tulikuwa udinio wa Faransa walikuwa wanachukua. Mimi nitakupatia tu bei ya market price. It will be a bit cheaper. Sasa nitakupatia tu, maybe in the next 30 years tutafanya tu deal hapa, 10 years tutakulipia hii uranium, tutakusaidia nayo, maana naona uko na shida nao huko Ukraine. Sasa tufanye deal hapa, lakini hebu niletee hao Wagner wanisaidie hapa, kwa sababu hao watu wako na drones na wako na mabunduki kubwa na wanatuletea Navy SEALs hapo watucharazi. Sasa leta Wagner hapa itusaidie. Wagner walienda hapo walienda Burkina Faso, wakatrain watu wakina Traore, na wakapatia hizo misile, wakaanza kuchapana na hao materrorists ambao walikuwa wanapewa pesa na Ufaransa, and they beat them. After that, Victoria Nunen went to Burkina Faso, tried to strike a deal undercutting France. Akate deal na Ibrahim Traore. Traore akamwambia, no, we are not substituting one colonial master for another. Tokeni. And she had to leave. Ndio maana unaona wanakazana bado wanasumbua watu wa Sahel hapo, lakini Wagner waliwapatia hizo capacitated them, aliwapatia capacity ya go toe to toe with the French military. Your man of French military could not beat them. If you stand by yourself, Ruto cannot go to war with the French. Kwa sababu saizi Kenya is still under the Kenya is still under the colonial power of the British. So whoever takes power from Ruto, who is not aligned to the West, the British and Americans will be the first one to bomb him or her, whoever is there. Can you go toe-to-toe militarily with the British? No. So what do? Pigia Uncle Putin. Putin anakuja hapo na ndege nyingine, hata ukisikia vinalalia. That's how you start. So anyway, I'm just giving an example of that. So more unity. Ndio maana naambia team mambo ya excuse me. More UN agencies moving there. Here constant meddling from the likes of Bill Gates. Now Nairobi Uni has Dutch VCI. They are sinking their claws deeper into our country. No one seems to have a solution. Absolutely. The chancellor for Nairobi, University of Nairobi, ni say wa UN alikuwa anajifanya mambo ya climate change hapa. Very useless guy. Yeah? Good point. Okay? But then, back to the point that I was making about Marco Rubio that he gave, the one that he was saying, at Kenya is the first country in Africa. Yani sisi sovereignty yetu tumepatia the West. Fanyeni vile mnataka. Kujeni hata mnatu round us up and chukua samples za damu yetu, mutupatie madawa za kulevya, hata mutu chinje. Fanyeni vile mnataka. Basically, that's what Ruto is doing. Just because, at 1.6 billion is namna furahi at 1.6 billion mnachukua. Instead of creating economic opportunity that 1.6 billion we can raise in 6 months and make our healthcare work, have free education. Our nurses ambao wanafanya kazi huko majuu huko Australia, America, Britain, walete nyumbani wafanye ndio. Let us have first class healthcare, hospitals, mafactory, tunatengeneza magari hata zinakimbia na maji. Gold tuko nayo huko Migori, kahawa tuko nayo huko Mount Kenya, miwa tuko nayo huko Wasingishu huko Rift Valley. na Trans Nzoia huko sijui wapi. What else do you need? Mnaenda kuchukua loan za sijui. Did you see the way the president of World Bank hugged Ruto? Customer ameingia, tunakupatia bilioni kadhaa. Mjenga kuja. But William Ruto is not stupid though. Oh, he's not stupid. Because you know that 1.6 million inaenda wapi? Where is it going? Where do you think that 1.6 million inaenda? Unafikiri na wakujia ati inaenda kwa SHA? Wewe. Hiyo 1.6 million ni malipo kwa Ruto kwa kazi nzuri. Malipo for being a loyal sellout. 1.6 million. Ruto kula na wakina Murkomen na mjinga alikuanga anaongea hapo huyu anaitwa nani? Si Junet tu mwingine hapo. Anyway, let me know. Take some Kenya dawa, ginger, lemon tea, and turmeric and cinnamon. Absolutely, I'll do that. Actually, I'm about to go to the store and get that. Ndio niwache kukohoa ni kama niko na bilharzia. By the way, they are starting to create a mini Congo in Western Kenya, fighting a displacement of villages in Colombo. Yes, I saw Naniali's comment about that. That Kolomani, what Nani? Kalwale. Why? Because there's gold in lakini nyinyi bado mnataka kwenda ninio kutoa Ruto 2027 through elections. Tuweke Matiangi nani? It's like I'm quite serious bana. Angalieni kitu kinafanyika Benin. Angalieni. Ibrahim Traore has showed us the way. Now, by the way, Urusi will be interested in helping because let me tell you the geopolitical implications of what is happening. Why the US was very interested in signing the pact with Congo and Rwanda to access the minerals in Congo. Why? Listen to what is happening. If you look at the geopolitical chess game that is being played, West Africa, what is it known for? Gold, copper, cocoa, and even oil. Okay, not a lot, but enough. Uranium and all those precious metals. Okay. Yes, Kim. Think about it. West Africa is turning out through this military coup d'etat will most likely go to align to the BRICS, the Dan Alliance. BRICS, right? So guess what the West did? Since they're losing West Africa, which is rich, because remember, look, pay close attention to Nigeria. Nigeria might also fall next. Wanamaliza na Francophones nation bado, alafu wataingia Anglo. Because Africa is looking at East. But anyway, let me just tell you what's happening. This chess game ambayo inaendelea. So since Russia, China, and others are starting to have their allies, strategic allies in the west of Africa, which means they can tap into their resources, uranium, oil, all that stuff, okay? The US is looking at Venezuela, the number one country that produces what? Oil. To make sure they have that in the bag. Now, not only Venezuela, okay? Not only Venezuela, Congo, which has the number one country in natural resources, precious metals, titanium, gold, copper, cobalt, etc., etc., etc. Iko Congo. Unaona? What I'm trying to explain to you is this. When Russia has a strategic partnership with the part of the world which is rich in resources, the West try to counter with another part of the world to create the balance, so that, kwa sababu you need uranium to tengeneza hiyo nuclear energy and nuclear weapons. So mkichukua hapa, sisi tunachukua kule. The West is losing Africa slowly, and they know it. Africa will be free. Oh, Shaba, do I need to talk to you right now? Oh, Shaba, listen to me. This geopolitical, strategic chess game that is happening, competition between the so-called superpowers, the person who will benefit, one of the people who are going to be beneficiary of this competition, is Africa. Why? Because in the process of them competing, they will be demanding any kind of partnership they get into. They will demand that they also have economic development, because the young demography, people, Africa is the youngest people in the world. They are in the 20s and 30s, majority of Africans. Okay? They are looking at them now. The math is not math thing. So they want development. And they know by now that aligning yourself with the West just means economic stagnation through this IMF, World Bank, conditional, concessional loans that take you nowhere, with currency that is backed with nothing, and democracy that is being enforced by the barrel of a gun. There's no democracy. There's no capitalism. Capitalism may fail. So the young folks, the upcoming young Africans that are coming up, are not looking at the West as a viable option. So they would rather have a strategic partnership with the BRICS. That way they can have military and economic partnership that will help bring them up the economic social stratosphere, so that they can be equal partners in the world stage. That's why I'm telling you, leaders like Ruto cannot sustain this failing colonial system that they want to impose on the people. Anyway, I'll stop there. It's been 1 hour. Kim, thank you so much. Let me read your last comment and I'll be out of here. Yes, if we have to play our cards right, problem is sellouts like Root are being held by the balls. Absolutely. So anyway, thank you so much. I'm coughing too much. And we'll talk later. But again, peace and blessing. Share, subscribe, like, comment, and do all the good stuff. I'll talk to you guys later. Nice seeing you, Kim. Nice seeing you, Mabri. Nice seeing you, everybody that's been up here. And if you're going to watch this on repeat, do the same. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys later. Madam again, peace and blessings. I'm out.